Great song.
Very appropriate music considering what the American people elected last night, right?
Oh man, that was a good way. Good way to kick off this show.
Okay,
Oh,
so...
man. I hope we didn't lose any viewers by...
Wow, my fault.
I
had to, guys. It was just funny. Speaking of moochers, let's talk about the Saints. Just because, I hate them.
Good reason.
Impressive Monday night game against the Eagles this week.
It's a crappy team.
True, and, Mike Vick has been playing better as of late.
His offensive line couldn't protect him at all.
And newsflash, he's lost his other blindside tackle. He is out for this for at least a couple of weeks.
I think the Saints had, 6 sacks in this game, something like that?
It was awful for
Eagles got dominated.
Mike Vick. And pick six, 99-yard pick six against them.
I would have gotten tired out at the 20-yard line. The near 20-yard line, not the far one.
It was a rough game for the Eagles. 28-13 final score on Monday night. The Sunday night game was a heck of a lot more entertaining than most people anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed up and watched it. I know there's a lot of people that went to bed at halftime because I did talk to them. Even Falcons fans went to bed at halftime. I don't understand why. They're like, "Whoa, sorry." Okay. It was a fantastic game.
It was a very...
As much as you hate it, it was a good game. There was very well... The defensive line for Dallas dominated Atlanta's offensive line.
Yeah. And I really thought that was going to be a big thing through the rest of the game. I thought that was going to come into play, and it really didn't. I mean, Matt Ryan... Dallas is the number one passing defense in the NFL. Matt Ryan went over 300 yards. Both Leo Jones and Roddy White went over the century mark. Man,
not to mention Turner also ran for around 100 too, so that helps.
They looked good, and the Dallas just didn't. I mean, it's week in and week out. I feel like I'm preaching and saying the same thing. We just don't think we're on the same page. We don't look like a team. Yeah,
Dallas has a fantastic game coming up this week. It's against the Eagles, I believe, in Philly, too.
In Philly, yeah.
So it's going to be a really, really pivotal game for Dallas this week. Let's move on to the Sunday afternoon game. Steelers at Giants.
Another good game.
Yeah, it was really, really strong. It was back and forth for the majority of the game. And correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, as much as everyone tells me that Eli's got that clutch gene, so does Roethlisberger.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, Roethlisberger and Eli are two of the best clutch quarterbacks in the NFL, along with Rodgers and Matt Ryan. The big key here was New York and New Jersey just got devastated by Sandy.
They did.
Football was not in the foremost of the Giants' mind.
No.
Just plain and simple, there it is. And the refereeing was a little in question in this game. I saw a lot of calls going for the New York Giants that weren't necessarily there in my mind. I saw a few holding calls, some pass interference calls, a fumble on Roethlisberger that wasn't a fumble in my opinion. The officiating was questionable.
The fumble that turned into a touchdown.
Yeah, the officiating was very questionable. But like I said, the Giants had a lot more important things in their mind than football. I can understand this loss. They have been digressing the past few weeks. They haven't looked like the team that we thought they were. But they're still a very dangerous team. They still have a lot of veterans.
Something that I actually thought was a strength for New York was their rush defense. And Redmond ran for over 140 yards.
And the Steelers have had notorious bad times with their rushing offense this year.
Moving on, Vikings at Seahawks. Vikings lose 20-30. Another big game for Adrian Peterson. 182 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Like Andy Reid on that tape. You know how Andy Reid plays that tape at the end of every loss? You play that tape after every single Vikings game because AP just keeps going off every week.
182 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns.
Sure
on the other side,
other
side, Marshawn Lynch ran for 124 yards and a touchdown. Marshawn Lynch gets the win, unfortunately for Adrian Peterson. 20-30 Vikings lose to Seattle. Buccaneers continue to just come and play. It's really, really tough for the Raiders right now. The Raiders are falling back to the pack, whereas the Buccaneers are starting to come up into the NFC South. And I will be the first one to admit, Matt, that I didn't see the Bucs winning this many games this season. Period.
I agree. I didn't think their offense was going to be this good. I didn't think Doug Martin was going to be the insane muscle hamster that he is this year.
You're going to pull that out.
Yes. The Bucs offense is as good as any in the NFL, and I'll stand by that week in and week out. The problem with them is their defense is atrocious.
Yeah.
Their secondary and pass defense is the complete opposite of what the Falcons faced last week. It's
Absolutely.
the best, and if you can't stop the pass in this league, that's going to hurt because 90% of the teams are pass heavy.
Defense did give up 32 points. Palmer threw for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
so that's an indication. Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking at. 42-32 final score, Bucs. Freeman seems to be in sync with his wide receivers, which is a big thing right now. Moving on. Bills at Texans. The Bills needed this game, and they just couldn't do it. Texans had a really solid we're going to do what we do best and just run the ball.
I mean, the only game they haven't had that's, one of those solid, under the radar, we're just going to keep plugging along games was the Packer game. And I mean, every other game has just been that under the radar, we're going to do what we're going to do, we're just going to impose our will on you.
Yep.
It works.
21-9 final score. Arian Foster ran for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Matt Schaub threw for 2 touchdowns, which is not common Matt Schaub because, I mean, you're continuously running the run game. Lions get another win. They're now 4-4 in the season. 31-14 final in Jacksonville.
Playing against probably the second worst team in the NFL.
True. I mean, but we'll move on. Let's not throw Jacksonville completely under the bus.
They're pretty bad.
They are, but they're not nearly as bad as Kansas City.
That's very true.
Moving on to another bad team. Panthers.
I didn't get this game. I completely whiffed on this game.
You're not the only one.
I thought the Redskins were going to come in and just destroy the Panthers. I mean, I just don't. I didn't see this happening. They lost by 8 points, and to RG3's credit, at the end of the game, there was like a minute left. They were down by 16 or something like that. They weren't going to win the game. RG3 threw a touchdown pass, got called back for holding. Mm-hmm. RG3 ran it in, got called back for illegal procedure. RG3 on the next play ran it in. To me, you're not going to win the game. The game's over. Doing that, you could risk injury, but that shows heart.
Yeah.
That spoke
as opposed to the quarterback on the other side.
Yeah, it's complete opposite. That spoke a lot. I have so much more respect for RG3 now.
21-13 final score. The one thing that really stuck out to this was the fact that for the second time ever in the history of America, really, the Redskins lost their home game and the incumbents won the election, which is different. Which, congratulations to Barack Obama. I mean, he did win the election, so we have to give it to him.
Another little stat, I know you threw the Washington one out there. The past, I want to say, 10 elections have all been chosen by the most popular Halloween mask. So Obama's Halloween mask sold
really?
around these. Yeah, I read that on Twitter today.
The other thing I noticed was whatever state the last World Series was won in, whoever that state voted for as far as the Electoral College. Mm-hmm. Normally wins the election.
Oh, I never knew that.
So that was another stat that I saw last night. Moving on, Dolphins at Colts.
Best game of the week.
It was fantastic. Andrew Luck had another incredible game.
Tannehill had a terrific game as well.
Yes, he did.
I mean, both of those rookie quarterbacks looked tremendous. This was one of the best games I've watched all season.
433 yards, a new rookie record as far as passing is concerned for Andrew Luck. Congratulations, Andrew. That was a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. 2 touchdowns. Bush had a touchdown for Miami. Ballard ran for 60 yards. Donnie Avery. I'm now kicking myself for not picking him up in fantasy because everyone's like, you need to pick him up. Okay. 108 yards.
Let's talk about Reggie Wayne a little bit. Finding the fountain of youth this year. He passed Edgerrin James for number 3 most touchdowns, I believe, in Colts history. He's done terrific. He's been Andrew Luck's biggest weapon in a team that doesn't have a lot of weapons. And I tell you what, the Colts are steadily plugging along and putting those wins up.
Yeah, they are.
They're going. I'm going to say it. They're going to make the playoffs. The Colts are going to make the playoffs this year.
And I hate doing this because I try to distance myself as much from ESPN as possible. But somebody on ESPN stated today, and it made just so much sense. Not sense, but just thought process. Mm-hmm. What about a Denver-Indy playoff matchup this year? They're both 5-3 right now.
Yeah, Denver's probably going to win their division, but they're not going to get home field or a bye. Very possible. Another little stat: Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning had the same amount of passing yards through week 9, and their teams have the same record.
Good stat.
Yeah.
Moving on, a game that was in hand from the get-go. Let's just say at the end of the first...
This was an old woodshed whipping game.
At the end of the first quarter, it was 28-2.
I turned it off.
So, Bears win 51-20.
What?
Yeah.
It doesn't... You don't see the safety given up by the team that's destroying the other team.
No.
When I saw it, I was like, what happened?
51-20 final score. Bears just completely whooped the Titans.
Their defense scored, what, 7 or 8 touchdowns in that game?
No, I think it was... defense scored one. They had a blocked punt, I believe, that scored another.
Bears are disturbing good right
and
now. And
apparently, according to the website that you showed me earlier, they're not the number one defense.
The 49ers are. The 49ers have a great defense, but they're not better than the Bears.
Speaking of the Packers
Pac-Man
beat Cardinals 31-17 at home.
Cardinals are just in a slide right now, and it's going to be hard to get out of it.
Yeah, they've lost 5 straight, guys.
That's rough. They're 4-5 now, right? Yeah, after starting off 4-0, they're now 4-5.
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to seeing the Falcons facing off against Arizona in Atlanta.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
if they keep playing like this, it doesn't matter. Robo Rogers is back. I told you that last week. Robo Rogers is back.
4 touchdowns with only 218 yards. He doesn't really need it as long as he gets into the end zone. Mm-hmm. Ravens 25-15 over the Browns. Ravens continue.
Kind of the way we thought.
Yeah, Ravens continue to pad their lead in the NFC or the AFC North. Broncos big win, 31-23.
They're going to take the AFC West.
Yeah,
I mean, that's.
Manning continues to impress. As much as everyone wants to throw, and like I said last week, as much as everyone wants to throw Matt Ryan as MVP, Peyton Manning's been fantastic for Denver.
I agree.
Peyton
Manning's a solid number 2.
He throws for 3 more touchdowns this week, and he seems to be in sync with Eric Decker now, and that's just disturbing.
Now that we're in the second part of the season. He's had a formula with those guys. He's made a relationship with them. That's disturbing. I mean, we saw what Marvin Harrison and him and Edgerrin James did in Indianapolis, and he's going to do the same thing with his wide receivers out in Denver.
Final game of the week, the Thursday game from last week, which we prefaced, obviously, right before we started filming. And I believe he was wrong. Was he not? Was Daniel not wrong, saying that they were going to score first?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Chiefs continue to not lead at all.
At all. Not 1 second. Not 1 second of one single NFL game through Week 9 have they led.
31-13 final score. Chargers beat the Chiefs. Rivers actually had a really strong game, 220 yards.
I'm getting a report in. Yep. With the first pick in the 2013 draft, the Kansas City Chiefs choose Matt Barkley of USC.
Already, we're going mid-season. We're going there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Matt Barkley, number 1 overall, Kansas City Chiefs.
Look out, Matt Castle and Brady Quinn.
I actually saw a report today that they are looking for a third option at quarterback in Kansas City. I don't know who's available. I don't know who they're looking at. Trade or no, obviously not a trade possibility anymore. But free agent pickup. I don't know who's out there.
Yeah.
I don't think Steve McNair is doing anything, so you don't want to call him up.
Brady,
not busy, is he?
Brady is out Brady has been ruled out for next week, but we'll hit on that in the next show. He's for the second week in a row due to a concussion, so Matt Castle will start.
Tom Brady.
But no, not Brady.
Brady Quinn. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's it.
Tom Brady's a jerk too.
That's it for Week 9 recap for Bryce and Billy. Thanks for watching, guys.